Good afternoon. My name is Holly Johnson. I am a communications major at the University of North Georgia, and I am currently studying various models within the communication realm. While learning about these elements which comprise these models, I was intrigued to learn of the divide between the emphasis on delivery opposed to the final success rate of the actual message and meaning that is being conveyed to the recipient of a communication scenario. Intrigued by the lack of importance that is shown to the effectiveness in communication, I created a model that values comprehension and efficacy above other values. I am eager to share this with you. Before we begin, it is important to note that although a lot of definitions of the word communication exist, for the purpose of this model, communication is regarded as the effectiveness of sending and receiving verbal and nonverbal signs and symbols with the goal of conveying a message infused with meaning to a recipient or receiver. Think back on a situation in your life when you were able to effectively deliver the message to a recipient, intended party, or in other words, the message just simply clicked. Do you remember the simplicity of it all? With that being said, in contrast, try to think of a time in your life when communication did not go as planned. Maybe you were supposed to meet a friend for lunch. You got sick, you called the friend, left a voicemail, but the friend didn't get it and ended up at lunch by themselves instead. Or maybe you tried to end things in a newer relationship over the phone, with positive adjectives, of course, and the recipient didn't quite understand the meaning that you had in mind. While you're thinking, you're moving on to the next thing in your life, they're busy planning the next date with you. No shame, no embarrassment, it happens to all of us. And although these happen in different contexts, the one thing that they all have in common is a communication breakdown. Those of us that are familiar with communication know that there are certain features in every model that are the same. Now, in every communication model, there is always a sender. This is the individual who crafts and sends the verbal or nonverbal message to someone. Now, there's always a channel in communication models as well. The channel is the way in which the message is being sent. And finally, there's always a receiver or a recipient. They are someone who receives the message sent by the sender. Now, when a message is sent that a receiver either does not receive or doesn't comprehend, this results in a communication breakdown, otherwise known as katanois. That is the Greek pronunciation for not comprehending. The sender of the message can be aware of whether their message has effectively been communicated to the receiver by the response they receive, or sometimes lack thereof. Now, reasons for why a message is not delivered successfully can vary, but these can include common things such as noise. Think of static on a phone line, or perhaps a text or email that you took so long to craft, never really sent because of a technological error. Or it could be something as monumental as a language or cultural barrier between the two parties. Messages not received or comprehended correctly can of course affect the social context that they are in, but they can also contribute to an ultimate breakdown in a relationship. This could be personal or professional, and it can be irreparable based on the severity of the incident. It is important that measures be taken to communicate clearly by limiting distractions so that unnecessary conflict can be avoided. In summary, I've introduced you to katanois, a communication model based on the comprehension or lack thereof in communication, also known as effective communication between a sender and receiver. Although communication can be described as the process of generating meaning through the use of verbal and nonverbal signs and symbols, in this model, it is important to note that we include it as the delivery and comprehension of the sender's message by receiver. That is our primary focus. Ineffective communication, otherwise known as a communication breakdown, is a common but avoidable mishap that can be prevented by taking certain steps to ensure that a message is crafted and processed in a clear and concise manner. Now, I hope you've enjoyed learning about the katanois model, and I do thank you for your time and attention.